Today we are honouring a founding father of this organisation and a long-standing member of this board, but these words in themselves do not do justice to Colman, as he has clearly been a driving force behind this organisation and a member of the board for over 20 years. As Joseph Kennedy once said, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and Colman's testament to this saying, always working hard to solve a problem and persevering to get a result. I've had the pleasure of serving with Colman for just a few years, and I know he leaves a legacy here behind him in so many ways. But now I'll hand it over to some other gentlemen here, to Martin, who will say a few words.
Colman and I became involved in about 1985, and it was through Ardee Industrial Development Company, and at that stage there were no jobs in Ardee. And the first task was, there was a survey done, and from the survey there was an enterprise officer, I think that's the terminology, engaged to get a plan. The guy was, if you remember, Joe Mulcairns. And Joe came along with a couple of ideas. The first idea was rabbits. And you can imagine what Colman said about bunny rabbits. He was not impressed. The second idea was to upholster coaches, and we took that on board. And Colman was the driving force, and Ardee Coach Trim was incorporated. It was Ardee Credit Union, the Industrial Development Company, the third year group Jim was part of, St. Vincent de Paul, and I think the church was involved. But Colman was always in favour of inclusion. Now, inclusion, and it was before his time. So on the board, we had Sister Catherine and we had Jamie Jennings. Okay. Colman always wanted jobs for Ardee. That was the principal objective of what we were doing at that stage. But the other thing was, we had to have a bit of fun doing it, because we weren't going to stay involved if there wasn't fun. And there was always fun in games. Now, I'm going to be very brief. We met people everywhere, and we met very good friends. One of our chief energizers, I'd say, worked for the IFI, Michael Kern, and Michael kept pushing us all the time. Poor Michael is no longer with us, but he was a lovely guy, and he was a huge help. John Quinlivan was a help. Right, Ardee Coach Trim did well. The idea was, jobs in Ardee, this is going well, sell it to Frank Lennon, get the money, do something else. And the something else was this building at that stage. And we met everybody, and I think Jim will go through some of the people we met. But I'll always remember the three of us met with Mary Harvey, and she was, it might have been Minister for Trade, or I can't remember what it was, but anyway, we were going to build this enterprise centre, and she said, well, have you a list of the people? Quick as a flash, she turns to Jim, you've got the list. And that list was always referred to as Schindler's list, and it was always Schindler's list. But we always had tremendous fun, and Colman, that's why the thing worked, because you kept asking the difficult questions and challenging us all the time, and also, as I said, we had fun. That's all. Over to you, Mr. Costa.
Very good. I think with regard to Schindler's List, I think some of you guys could have been some of the people who were quoted as people who wanted to start a business here. So maybe you were stoned without your knowledge. But as Martin said, basically we were starting to an absolutely superb idea, and whatever input I could do from there. Basically, as I say, we had no idea what we wanted to do, but we knew we wanted to do something. So we set out on a vast number of visits, seeing other people, what they did, and half would be in the north and half in the south, and I just made a list of them coming down here. In the south, we visited business centres in Kingscourt, Bailieborough, Wicklow, Clones, Mullingar, and I'm sure I'm leaving some out in the north. That was the food now, that was after. But and in the north, Glenwood. And I think Colman, I think he took probably, it was maybe his guiding light behind the manager in Glenwood, which is in the middle of the Falls Road, at a bad time. But behind his head was, it's easier to seek forgiveness than it is permission. And as I say, he in all our doings here, that was probably the one that was adhered to. We went to Workspace in Portadown, which is another, we got huge information from all of these people. Newry, Banbridge, Orts and Belfast and Larne. And as I say, I don't think I'm covering the whole lot of them. Now as well as that, as well as these centres, we had to meet, as the fellow says, the political people. And as Martin said, Mary Harney was one of them. But we met everybody from county councillors to TDs, to ministers and to teachers. And the one thing that always came across, it was always such reassuring to go. Colman O'Flynn had credibility. And this shone through in every meeting they had. He was a leader, but he was also a driver, and we were the ones that were driven. I suppose, as I say, the credibility would have been the first thing. The other thing was the professionalism of the visits, of how we prepared, how we were prepared for it. Because as I say, it did come from Colman. And eventually in 2000, this place was open. This first phase was open. It cost 1.2 million. And of that, 780,000 was got through grants. And that was again purely because funding agency, they said, this man is somebody who we can trust, and we're not going to put money just into an empty hole, and this is where we came about it. Now, Colman, as I say, he was chairman from, I think we was
Still is.
and a little bit before. But I think it was 1996 I put down here. And interestingly, in 2002, after this place has been built, at a meeting as chairman, he proposed that chairman could only be chairperson for 3 years maximum. Now, of course, that was studiously ignored or outvoted. We never could get a majority on that one. so that went on for many years. And no, the food hub was that was much later years. I think it was 2015, and we had brought on people like John Kieran came in at that stage. And as I say, that's another story, and he'll talk a little bit about that. I suppose the main thing is what has come out of Colman's years is the Colman O'Flynn Suite. Without him, it wouldn't be here. Without him, this building wouldn't be here. Without him, this site wouldn't be here. Because that was the first thing, we didn't even start off at a site. And I think through the offices of Colman and Martin in particular, we bought it, this site was bought from Tom Kerr. And this is where we are today. So, of course, much of the enthusiasm, of his enthusiasm and shared thinking came from the real meetings, which were held in the railway bar, and with the essential contribution of John Arthur Guinness and John Jemison. I think that was the main contribution, apart from yourself, Colman. Colman, as I say, I think it's lovely to get an official opportunity to acknowledge what you've made, the contribution you've made to this. So thank you very much. Thank you. So John Kieran is the next for the group
Up and running at the time. So the next probably phase of the development was the food hub, and Jim, Martin and Colman kind of were pushing on to the next phase. So born out of that was that we've redeveloped some of the industrial units down in which adjoins this building, where they don't adjoin them, they're beside it, adjacent to it. And like I suppose the work that the guys had done to develop this unit, we did go around the country, we spoke to other facilities that had a similar setup in having food units. I think we went to, I didn't go to Drumshanbo, I think the two guys went to Drumshanbo, Jim and Coleman. We went down to Ferban, we went to Thomastown, and we went to Nina, I think was another place we went to see various food hubs. Again, in fairness, all driven by Colman, and you know, so useful, and learn so much from all of those things, to meet other people, see you know, hear the successes, the failures, what they have done, what they would have done differently, and we learned so much from that. And I suppose, as Martin had said, we had such fun doing it too. You know, the trips down and, you know, meeting other people, you know, it was really just good fun. I enjoyed it so much. I mean, and in terms of Colman, I was chairman for a good few years, but we really led by Jim, Martin, Colman, guided all the time. It was a figurative job for me. They were the brains behind the whole thing, and in particular Colman. I mean, he's so sharp over the years. I have to say, I have learned personally so much from him. I mean, everything that came out of his mouth over the years at that boardroom was right on the money, you know, and it really is a credit to him. And I would say I've learned so much from Colman, as much nearly as anyone over the years. I always would have such regard for him, likened to nearly my own grandfather, who was of a similar probably ilk, and who I would have equally have had so much regard for. You know, Colman really just so sharp, such a good person. You know, you could put Colman in any environment. He could have spoke to the caretaker in here, to the Taoiseach of the country, as Jim would say. He was just such a safe pair of hands and treated everybody alike. No prejudices, no you know, snobbery, or you know, didn't, you know, say could speak to anyone. So I mean, the place is a credit, the tribute is only a small thing, but it's so utterly deserved. And so, you know, I would say, well done, Colman. Thank you for everything you've done for the business park, and indeed for the town of Ardee, because that's really what it is, and that's what this business is all about, is supporting the town. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
We go back a long time. As he says, our first was with us. But before that, I was involved a good while with the Tiny Towns, which was my first community involvement. And then got involved with the late Bernard Markey and the late Kevin Keenan in the Ardee Industrial Development Company. And at a meeting of that one night, after Joe McCarthy come up with a suggestion, Bernard said to me across the table, right, he said, you run that for us. And then the credit Julie for the other half of the thing, and that's when I first met Martin. And over the years we became close friends, as well as associates. Jim came on a little bit later. After we sold Coachstrom, we got in touch with a firm of management consultants called Colman O'Flynn, and they gave us the master plan with which to work. Colman O'Flynn had a very able assistant with whom Jim was very friendly and struck a good relationship. As a result of Colman O'Flynn, their plan was twofold. First of all, job creation, which I think at the time, Jim, was about 23% unemployment, and secondly, tourism, where the tourism went to Fairview and we were left with the business end of things. We would be nowhere without the funding we got from the funding agencies. There were 50,000 put up by the credit union and by Ardee Industrial Development Company. But in any case, the whole ethos of the thing was, and I hope still is, job creation. And we realised from an early stage it had to be a question of shoe leather. We could write all the letters we want, we could telephone all we want. We could soon, there was no sudden then, of course, all we want. But we met the people individually. And some good things happened. For instance, the Taoiseach and some ministers were visiting Ardee and they had arranged a meeting with the much maligned town commissioners at the time. And the town commissioners reckoned the town would be better served, but they stood aside and gave us the floor for that meeting. And that was a big thing on their part. And it was never fully appreciated. However, I was chairman. It seemed I was never going to put up with it. So eventually I had the Articles of Association changed. And it was after that. Was it the second chairman?
It was many years after.
Oh,
Yeah, so
was it Martin?
yeah, I was after you.
So it more or less went round. And later on, John came on board, and he was a tremendous asset to us, despite his extraordinary taste for frogs. We forgave him that in many cases.
Oh, yes, eventually.
But it's good to see it the way it is today, and it's good to see it fully occupied. And it's good to see Deirdre here as a chairperson, a local female member, because you will recall we paid a visit to one of the funders, and we were trying to get funds out of her for something we wanted. And she looked across the table at the two of us, and she said, "Gentlemen," she said, "I don't see any females here." So, Martin, that's how Janie and Mother Catherine came over. And it's great to see then, of course, we had plenty of others after that. But even in those days, Jim, it was an issue. It's been addressed today. We had very good managers. Calm now, we had Henry Brennan in the beginning, and Christine was brilliant. So that's it. The thing goes ahead today, and as I say, I hope the ethos won't be lost. We always had to make money, we were always commercial, but it was with a purpose, and the purpose always was job creation. And okay, the food thing didn't work out, and we had some dark days, of course. We lost Alan McLean and Galen, and that was a big loss. But that's all in the past now. Alan always meant something for Ardee, but unfortunately he died. But it goes ahead, and as I say, it's great to see a local person, well qualified, able, like Deirdre, now succeeding people like John and Jim and Martin. And I wish you all the very best, Deirdre, in the future, yourself and the company. very much. I appreciate it very much. Yes.
So Colman, I feel I have very big shoes to fill, very big shoes to fill. But it was lovely hearing you speak there and everyone speak about all your contributions. We are indeed indebted to you. So I'd just like on behalf of the business park to present you with this plaque for all your contributions.
And of course, Colman, the room is,
Pardon?
this room is now the Colman O'Flynn Suite.
Sweet.
Yes, correct. Well, yeah, there's a kitchen attached in the whole house, so it's not there's a kitchen attached to it as well. I think the other thing that you should give to us, Colman, you know the notebook you had that went on for years, and we could go to a meeting and you would say something. No, chairman would be silent. But then the notebook would come out, it would be opened. Yeah, but you said in March of this year. So,
Yeah.
So you're going to put your name up on the door?
Sorry? Sorry?
yeah, it's-
Chair.